Alright folks, here we go with another audio article. This was probably my favorite article that I wrote. And it's called Spiritual Mechanics. And it's part of a group of articles that I'm probably still working on called Understanding Spirituality in Logical Terms. I have a link to the introduction. I'll post a link to the actual article, of course, with this podcast. So basically, I'm a scientist, and when I first started getting into spiritual concepts, I found it really helpful to relate them to actual scientific, to things based in the physical world, because I had a hard time kind of going for that spiritual, trippy-ass ride at first. I'm way into it now, but I just thought that this was a good article. And again, it's called Spiritual Mechanics. I've always resented urban driving. The constant stopping and delays pique my impatient and control-seeking personality traits. Often, one could witness my car weaving in and out of lanes, coming within inches of other cars, rapidly accelerating through yellow lights and even the occasional red light, or being pulled over by the fuzz for one of these or many other offenses. One enlightening day, while my beloved Charlie rode with me in the back seat, he's my dog, I was focused not on the light directly in front of me, but the light after, hoping I could make it through both lights, because waiting 2 minutes just may be the death of me. I dropped a gear in true Starsky fashion and began to accelerate. Well, it turns out that you can't make it through the second light when the driver in front of you decides to stop at the first light. Realizing that I wasn't making it through either light, I quickly slammed my car into first gear, stomped on the brakes, and watched a small yelping figure soar from the back seat into the dashboard. As the first settled, I smelled the aroma of burnt rubber and observed the irate yells and gestures of other drivers. Appalled by my own recklessness, I asked, "Who the fuck is driving my car?" In that moment, it became clear that I consistently allowed an anxiety-saturated madwoman behind the wheel of my car. And in doing so, I put everything I hold dear in serious danger. We're all familiar with the three components of human beings, which together create wholeness: the mind, the body, and the soul. This article represents a practical analogy to help elucidate how these pieces fit together, relate to one another, and how you can ensure their harmony and inner balance. I will largely abstain from reflecting on my own understanding of the analogy, wanting each person to interpret it for themselves. But here's the general concept. The mind equals the driver. The body equals the car. And the soul is your passenger, whatever or whomever you envision as wise, perfect, powerful, eternal. Note, regarding the soul, its very existence in the human world is dependent on the mind and body. This complicates the analogy, so please keep this critical point in mind. Driver. The number one cause of all accidents is the driver suffering from classic case of head shoved up my own ass syndrome. They are unable to see, hear, or operate their car effectively, basically taking a piss all over the well-being of the car and passenger. Not paying attention to the road they're on, they're obsessively preoccupying themselves by fearing the uncertainty of the future routes, or still more pointless, putting their attention on where they've already been and wondering if they made the correct turns. You turned. Deal with it. Furthermore, trust that you had a good reason for turning, though it may elude you at the present. No one else can make you turn that wheel. If it turns out to be the wrong road, there's good news. You can always turn around. Continue to drive the route you've chosen, knowing you have control of your car and that your passenger is there to help guide you. If you, like me, realize that you are driving recklessly, you have two options. One, you can make a conscious decision to put an end to your carelessness and drive with mindfulness and consideration of your car, passenger, and other cars and passengers. Or two, you can continue to drive like a maniac. Either way, own that choice and take full responsibility for how you continue to drive your car and passenger, whose safety depend on those decisions. If you end up in a crash and burn situation, know that you have only yourself to blame. Believe me, sometimes I get a wild hair up my ass and want to drive like O.J. Simpson running from a bloody glove. In that moment, it makes me feel alive and in control. And when I end up dealing with a dented hood and a pissed off Latino woman, I know that I created, indeed invented, that scenario in my life. What happens as a result of these misplaced mental meanderings and flair for recklessness? The driver ass-packs the car in front of them and runs over an animal, subsequently causing some kind of avoidable debacle. Fact. You can only navigate the road you are driving down at present. Focusing on any other route, either in the future or in the past, will cause varying degrees of accidents, which may or may not involve innocent bystanders and loved ones, or cause permanent damage to your car and passenger. Driving like Urkel. That's a funny reference. You might have to look it up. Here's some good bullet points to be careful. Concern yourself only with the road you're on. Don't care what other drivers think or how your car looks or your driving techniques. They're only concentrating on your driver and car to distract themselves from the defects of their car and their own bad driving habits. Never try to drive someone else's car or let someone else drive your car, and always respect the boundaries of the lines on the road. Take responsibility for your maneuvers and don't act surprised when you end up in a ditch. Blaming others for accidents does not solve the issues that arise as a result. You are the only one who can repair the damage. Obsessing over a previous accident will not change the road you're on or the drivers/cars next to you, but it can make you a better driver by learning from the experience and letting go of blame. Drive only when you can think clearly and are fully aware of your surroundings. Don't drive impaired, fall asleep behind the wheel, or hotbox your car. Hotboxing means smoking marijuana. Not that I've ever done that. Give other drivers room to maneuver, especially when you notice them swerving suddenly or leaving their signal lights on for extended periods of time. They are obviously confused and should be avoided. Don't drive like a jerk to piss off other drivers. Be patient if you get stuck in a traffic jam. Read a book, listen to music, talk to your passenger, or otherwise do something constructive instead of bitching about conditions you cannot change. Whew. I feel like I need to remember some of this stuff. Okay, on to the car. How many times do you notice yourself saying, I wish I had a prettier, sportier, or more useful, comfortable car? You find yourself looking around and saying, oh, I like that one, or that one. That one might be nice. As humans, we never seem to be satisfied with the only car we have, the one we're driving. Most importantly, in the face of truly despising the piece of shit we drive, we either feel powerless to change it or lack the balls and determination that takes to change our cars. So either grow a pair and change your car despite the pain and money it requires, or learn to love your car and embrace the fact that your glove compartment doesn't close and your trunk won't open. It's really that simple. Generally speaking, it's important to pay attention to warning signs that your car is not fit for the road. Also be sure to care for your car and keep it in working condition. But remember, you will only be motivated to service your car if you love it and actually want to drive it around. The points below will highlight this concept. Figure out why the check engine light is on, or you will eventually get stranded and mistakenly view it as bad luck, though there were clear signs that something was wrong and you chose to ignore them. Wash your car. If you think your car looks and smells like shit, you won't want to take it anywhere. Decorate your car in any way you see fit. I choose tattoos. Don't idly watch as someone puts sugar in your gas tank. Be responsible for your car and how you let others treat it. Fill the windshield wiper fluid so you can see the road clearly. Turn down your radio so you can hear the directions given by your passenger and/or sirens of emergency vehicles. If you hear the brakes grinding, change them before you're unable to stop. Align the balance Align and balance the wheels so you aren't consistently veering off the road or wearing down tread on certain tires. Choose your fueling source carefully, as it will determine how many miles you can put on your car over its lifetime. Some cost more than others, but higher fuel grades are worth it long term. For the sake of comparison, would you rather have Easy Mac grade, meatloaf and mashed potatoes grade, or grilled chicken salad grade? Drive your car often. If you let your car sit too long, it may have difficulty starting the next time you want to drive it, or not start at all, and it will likely accumulate unsightly rust. On to the passenger. This one seems simple. The passenger is the car and driver's answer to all the issues outlined above. If the driver could only pull their head from their ass or turn down the music, they'd be able to hear the stream of directions and warnings regarding car malfunctions issuing from the passenger. This is critical. First, the driver must learn to listen to the passenger and hear their directions. Even still, the passenger will not tolerate a stonewalling for long and will find a way to be heard. Consistently ignoring directions from your passenger, they will eventually prompt them to scream, "Turn, turn," and you'll overcorrect, likely causing a devastating turn of events. If this still isn't enough, the driver finally listens once they get into an accident severe enough to realize that instead of blaming another driver, they should figure out what they did to cause the accident. Were they trying to control the way others were driving instead of paying attention to their own actions? Or perhaps they were worrying over some misdirection from the past. Finally, the driver and car must trust the unimaginable wisdom imparted by the passenger, unquestioningly letting them guide them from one road to another. This trust takes time to build, but when the driver crashes the car enough times as a result of their failure to heed the passenger's warning, both will solidify that trust. And here's my take-home message. So don't let Luke Duke, from the Dukes of Hazzard, drive your car like the damned General Lee. That car and driver get stunt doubles. Yours do not. Practice concentrating only on the road you're on, taking responsibility for your driver's decisions and subsequent condition of your car. Though life is full of minor accidents and fender benders, these types of experiences can function to add distinction to your car and develop the character of your driver. Treasure your passenger. It has no agenda other than providing wisdom which will safely guide the car and driver to where they need to go, and it will let them know when it's time to change direction before disaster ensues. Without the balance provided by the passenger, the car and driver cannot hope to navigate life's roads without causing significant damage to themselves and others. I published that article on Friday, January 13th, 2012. As I said, a very transformatory year for me. And again, you're reading that with the concept in mind that the mind is the driver, the body is the car, and the soul is the passenger. And by soul, I also mean intuition. So, just let that sink in. That was one thing that really helped me. And until the next audio article, see ya.